Even in Red Dead Redemption 2, sin is all around, going unpunished. These NPCs think that they can get away with anything. Well, not anymore. What's up everyone, I'm Average Old, making average content for the average viewer. Although today's video probably isn't exactly for the average viewer, maybe someone with a slightly darker sense of humour. It's just for a bit of fun, so I hope you enjoy it. I was wandering around West Elizabeth and I realised this whole county is full of fucking sin, and nothing was being done about it. So I decided to rid this county of all its nastiness, one sin at a time. Let's get on with the video. Look at this bitch here, sat there lording it up, demanding more and more and more. She's that fat cat that lives on your street, that strolls into 3 or 4 houses meowing relentlessly until they get more food. That's this woman, sat there shouting at no one in particular that she wants more of something. And what's worse is her sense of entitlement, as she sits there droning on and on and on. Her head is so far up her own ass that lump in her throat's her fucking nose. Well, guess what, Lillian? You aren't any more entitled than anyone else. And your greed has been noticed, and it's time to meet your maker. Your time's up, Lillian.
Okay, that's enough of this. Oh, really? Let's take a look. Really?
Look at these two sorry sacks of shit. They spent all day in the pub and now they can't even stay awake. Drinking a few beers is fine, but getting to this point where you've consumed far more than you would ever need is just downright gluttonous. You're like a small child who was told they could only have one sweet and not the whole bag because it would ruin their dinner. But instead, they sat there in the cupboard under the stairs and piled those sweets into their mouth one by one until they puked up everywhere. That's you two, but you're not children, you're adults, and your gluttony makes me sick. Your time is also up. In real life, there are people who don't give a fuck about other people. They are the snakes of this world. Now I have a lot to be said for Paul here. He looks like a guy who's 38 and lives alone, someone who's never had to share anything with anyone. He probably spends his day drinking and whoring, which is fucking sinful enough. Now it seems he's been snooping around someone else's missus, sneaking around and ruining their life. And now he's been caught, he doesn't even have the common decency to apologise. He strikes again, and to add insult to injury, leaves the poor bloke bleeding in the street. Talk about pouring salt in the wound. This poor guy has had his heart ripped open and then a pack of salt and vinegar hula hoops jammed in the fucking hole. Well, guess what, Paul? I see you, and your lust will not go unpunished. Your time's up, Paul, and your debt to God will be paid. Keith here is the perfect example of someone who thinks he can escape the wrath of God. He lives a quiet life at home with his wife Claudette. He wakes up in the morning to feed his pigs and tend to his crops. From the outside, Keith looks like a loving, law-abiding citizen. But Keith is never happy with what he has. For years he's been poisoning his neighbour's farm water, and all his pigs have died. All because fucking Keith here was jealous of what he had. This is the sort of guy who sees that you've done a really detailed, awesome school project and he's too stupid to do his own. So instead of working harder on his, he takes a massive dump right on the top of yours. Well, fuck you, Keith. That's envy, my friend. Another one of the 7 deadly sins. And such sins must be atoned for. Time's up, Keith. Well, look at this prick. Sometimes people in this world want something for nothing. They spend their whole life doing as little as they can for enough money for a drink, and then they piss it up the goddamn wall. These days, this is the sort of person that rocks up to a job interview stinking of booze with a ripped sun-bleached tracksuit on, just so he doesn't get offered the job but he can write down on his job seekers form that he fucking tried. This sort of behaviour usually goes unpunished, but I've got news for you, pal. No one escapes God's justice, and your lazy ways haven't gone unnoticed. Time's up, mate. Too many people these days are quick to jump on the offensive. Whatever happened to just plain old being nice to people? Some people just have to get right up in your face and start a problem. Perfect example here is Kenneth. He stands around all day looking for trouble. If he were alive in 2019, he'd be the guy in the nightclub who you accidentally spill your drink on, and he strings you up and punches you in the face, and you wee yourself and you ruin your new jeans. Well, there's a special place in hell for people like you, Kenneth, and your wrath isn't something that's looked kindly upon. Time's up, buddy. Here we go. Old man Jason here thinks he's the bee's knees. Look at him swantering around like he's better than everyone else, just because he's building himself his own house on the high street of Valentine. Wow. He thinks that no one knows, but secretly he's laughing at all the people around him because he thinks they are all so far below him and none of their lives matter. This sort of person thinks that his achievements are so amazing that nothing anyone else could do could even come close. It's like if someone came up to you and said, "Look at this cake I made," and he slapped it out of your hands, threw it on the ground and proceeded to say that his child makes a much better cake. Well, guess what, Jason? Even pride is a sin punishable by God, and your time's up as well, mate.
Okay, Joe.
That about sums it up for this video. I know it's a bit of a weird one, but I thought I'd try something different. I'll still be covering Battlefield 5 content, but I thought it might be fun to do these slightly more wacky videos as well. If this video is something you find funny, please let me know. And if you like it and haven't already, then please consider subscribing. Anyway, that's about it for today. I'm Average Owl. Peace.